The station changed overnight. Taiho noticed it the moment he stepped into the corridor the next morning. The aliens who had been curious yesterday were now frightened. They pressed themselves against walls as he walked past. Some turned and fled in the opposite direction. Others pretended to be busy with their devices, refusing to make eye contact. He found Mina waiting for him in the common area. She was eating breakfast alone at a large table designed for dozens of beings. Every other seat was empty. "They are avoiding us," Mina said as Taiho sat down. "I noticed. I tried to speak with some of the other diplomatic teams this morning. They all made excuses and left." Mina stabbed her food with unnecessary force. "We came here to make friends, and instead we have become monsters. We are not monsters. Tell them that." Mina gestured at the empty room. "One test result, and suddenly we are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Do you know what the news feeds are saying?" Taiho shook his head. "They are calling us Deathworlders, apex killers, the perfect predators. Some commentators are saying we should be quarantined. Others are saying we should be destroyed before we spread further into space." Mina's voice was bitter. All because of a number on a screen. Vel appeared at the entrance to the common area. The blue alien hesitated, clearly uncomfortable, before approaching their table. "Ambassador Taiho, Captain Mina, the Council has requested your presence. Now?" Taiho asked. "Yes, they have reached a decision about your species." Taiho and Mina followed Vel through the station. The journey took them through sections they had not seen before. These areas were grander, more decorated, clearly designed for important beings. Statues of alien heroes lined the walls. Paintings showed historical moments from civilizations thousands of years old. The council chamber was enormous. It was a circular room with seats rising in tiers around a central platform. Hundreds of aliens sat in those seats, representing species from across the galaxy. In the center stood a single podium, bathed in light. Rin was already there, standing near the entrance. The security chief nodded at Taiho as he passed. "I did my best," Rin said quietly. "But many of them are frightened. Fear makes beings do stupid things." Taiho walked to the central podium. He could feel hundreds of eyes on him. Alien eyes of every color and shape. Some curious, some hostile, most simply afraid. A voice spoke from somewhere above. It was translated into human language by a device attached to Taiho's ear. "Ambassador Taiho of Earth, you stand before the Galactic Council. We have examined your species and reached a decision regarding your registration." "I am ready to hear it," Taiho said. "Your species presents unique challenges. Your biological profile exceeds all known parameters for predatory traits. Your history shows a pattern of extreme violence and rapid expansion. Your technology, while primitive, advances at a rate that concerns many council members." Taiho waited. The voice continued. "However, we have also noted positive qualities. Your species shows capacity for cooperation, creativity, and compassion. You have the potential for both great destruction and great achievement. The question before this council is simple. Which path will humanity choose?" A murmur went through the chamber. Aliens whispered to each other in languages Taiho could not understand. "We have decided to grant humanity provisional registration," the voice announced. "You will be allowed limited trade and travel within the galaxy. You will be monitored closely. Any sign of aggression or expansion beyond approved boundaries will result in immediate sanctions." Relief washed through Taiho. They had done it. Humanity was in. However, the voice continued, and the relief faded. There are additional conditions. Humanity must agree to limit its military development. You must not develop weapons capable of threatening galactic civilization. You must remain within your assigned sector of space. Any violation will be met with the full force of the Council's military. Maya stepped forward. Those conditions are unacceptable. You are asking us to handicap ourselves while surrounded by species that are clearly afraid of us. That is not safety. That is a cage. Those are our terms, the voice said coldly. Accept them or be denied registration entirely. Taiho raised his hand. May I speak? You may. He looked around the chamber, meeting as many alien eyes as he could. I understand your fear. I understand why a species that scores 112% on your Hunter Index would concern you. But I think you are making a mistake. A mistake? Yes, you look at our history and see violence. But you do not see what drove that violence. You do not see the survival, the adaptation, the refusal to give up. Taiho's voice grew stronger. Every terrible thing in human history happened because we were fighting to survive. Against nature. Against each other. Against a universe that tried to kill us every day. He paused, letting his words sink in. But we also created beauty. We created music and art and stories. We built cities that touch the sky. We developed medicine that cures diseases. We dreamed of the stars, and then we reached them. That is what you should see when you look at humanity. Not just the killer. The dreamer. The builder. The being that will never stop trying to be better. The chamber was silent. You want to cage us because you are afraid of what we might do. But I promise you this. If you treat us as enemies, we will become enemies. And you have already seen what happens when humans have enemies. Rin's voice echoed in his memory. You destroy your enemies completely. But if you treat us as friends, Taiho continued, you will find no species more loyal. No species more willing to fight for what it believes in. No species more willing to sacrifice for those it loves. He took a deep breath. You see predators when you look at us. But predators can be protectors too. Give us a chance to show you which we choose to be. The silence stretched on. Then, slowly murmurs began again. Aliens talked among themselves, debating, arguing. Taiho stood in the light and waited. Finally, the voice spoke again. Your words have been heard, Ambassador. The Council will take them under consideration. We will recess and reconvene in one cycle to deliver our final decision. Taiho nodded and stepped back from the podium. As he walked toward the exit, he noticed something strange. Some of the aliens who had looked afraid before now looked thoughtful. A few even nodded at him as he passed. Rin fell into step beside him. That was a good speech. Did it change anything? I do not know. But it gave them something to think about. And right now, thinking is better than reacting in fear. They walked out of the council chamber and into the corridor. Aliens still moved aside as they passed, but the reaction seemed less frightened now. More respectful. What happens now? Taiho asked. We wait, Rin said. And we hope that the council remembers one simple truth. What truth is that? Rin looked at him with those yellow predator eyes. That the most dangerous thing in the universe is not a killer. It is a killer who decides to stop killing. Because that means they found something worth protecting. Taiho thought about Earth. About his family back home. About all the people who had no idea their fate was being decided by beings. They had never met. He had found something worth protecting. Now he just had to convince the galaxy to let him do it. The day of the final decision arrived. Taiho had barely slept. He had spent the night thinking about home, about the future, about all the ways this could go wrong. Now he stood in the council chamber again, waiting for judgment. But he was not alone this time. A new human had arrived on the station. Her name was Yuna, and she was the head of Earth's diplomatic corps. When news of the situation reached Earth, they had sent her immediately. She was calm, professional, and completely unafraid. You did well, Taiho, she said, as they waited for the council to assemble. Better than anyone could have expected. I do not know if it was enough, We will find out soon. Yuna looked around the chamber with curious eyes. This is quite impressive. So many species in one place. They are all afraid of us. I know. I saw the reports. Yuna smiled slightly. 112%. That is quite an achievement for a government worker from Seoul. I did not try to score high. That is the funny thing about tests like this. You cannot fake the results. Whatever is inside you is what shows up on the screen. Yuna's eyes met his. The question is what we do with what we are. The council session began. The same voice from before spoke down from above, translated through their earpieces. The council has deliberated on the human question. We have considered the ambassador's words. We have reviewed all available data, and we have reached a final decision. Taiho held his breath. Humanity will be granted full registration with the Galactic Council. No special restrictions. No additional conditions. You will be treated as equal members of the galactic community. A wave of relief crashed over Taiho. Beside him, Yuna's smile widened slightly. However, the voice continued. We require something in return. A gesture of good faith. What kind of gesture? Yuna asked. We want the new arrival to take the Hunter Index test. We want to see if all humans share the same qualities as Ambassador Taiho, or if he was an unusual case. Taiho felt his stomach tighten. This was a trap. If Yuna scored low, they would use it to question Taiho's results. If she scored high, it would confirm their fears about humanity. But Yuna just nodded. Of course. I will take your test. She walked to the testing device that had been brought into the chamber. It was the same black scanner from before. Yuna placed her palm on the surface without hesitation. The machine hummed. Lights blinked. Data scrolled across the screen, and then the same thing happened. The humming grew louder. The lights flickered. An error message appeared on the screen. Red letters blinked urgently. The entire chamber fell silent. Vel, who had been operating the machine, stared at the results. Its 4 eyes blinked rapidly. Well? Yuna asked calmly. What is my score? Vel's voice was barely a whisper. 118%. The chamber erupted. Aliens shouted in a dozen languages. Some stood up from their seats. Others rushed for the exits. It was chaos, pure and simple. Yuna removed her hand from the scanner and turned to face the council. Her expression had not changed. She still looked calm, professional, completely in control. It seems I scored higher than Ambassador Taiho, she said. I hope this does not change your decision. The voice from above spoke, but it sounded shaken now. How? How is this possible? We assumed the ambassador was an exception, a genetic outlier. But if all humans share these traits, not all humans share the same exact score, Yuna said. But yes, we are all predators. We all carry the same ancient instincts, the same drive to survive, to adapt, to overcome. She walked to the center of the chamber, standing beside Taiho. Every eye in the room was fixed on her. You look at us and see monsters. I understand that. When you evolved as prey or as peaceful herbivores, the idea of something like us must seem terrifying. Yuna's voice was steady and strong. But I want to tell you something about human predators. She paused, letting the silence build. We protect our pack. We care for our young, sometimes at the cost of our own lives. We form bonds that last generations. We remember those who help us, and we never forget those who betray us. We are loyal to a fault, and we will fight to the death for those we love. Yuna looked around the chamber, meeting alien eyes without fear. Yes, we are hunters. Yes, we are dangerous. But we are also builders, dreamers, creators. We did not claw our way to the top of our planet just to destroy things. We did it so we could protect everything we care about. She smiled, and there was something ancient in that smile. Something that remembered hunting in the darkness, yes, but also something that remembered gathering around fires, telling stories, singing songs to keep the night at bay. You have given us full registration. You have accepted us as equals. And I promise you this, humanity will not forget that. When threats come to this galaxy, and they will come, you will not face them alone. You will have the most dangerous species in existence standing beside you. The chamber was completely silent now. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of understanding. Rin stepped forward from the side of the room. The security chief looked at the two humans with something like wonder in its yellow eyes. I told the council that denying humanity would be a mistake, Rin said. Now I believe accepting humanity may be the best decision this council has ever made. Why? Someone asked from the crowd. Because I have spent my life studying predators, Rin replied. And I have learned one simple truth. The most dangerous predators are not those who hunt for food. They are those who hunt to protect something they love. Rin looked at Taiho and Yuna. These humans are not here to conquer. They are not here to destroy. They are here because they want to protect their home, their people, their future. And any civilization that wants the same thing should be glad to have them as allies. The session ended shortly after. Humanity was officially welcomed into the Galactic Council. Papers were signed. Hands were shaken. Tentacles were waved. Whatever gesture each species used for agreement was exchanged as they walked out of the chamber. Taiho turned to Yuna. 118%, he said. You beat my score. I have been doing this longer than you, Yuna replied. The predator instincts get sharper with practice. Is that a joke? Maybe. She looked out the window at the stars beyond. Or maybe it is just the truth. We are what we are, Taiho. We cannot change our DNA. We cannot pretend to be something else. But we can choose what we do with what we are. And what do you choose? Yuna smiled. It was a warm smile, friendly and kind. But underneath it, Taiho could see the hunter, the survivor, the creature that would never stop fighting for what it loved. I choose to protect, she said. That is what humans have always done. We protect our families, our tribes, our nations, our species. She looked at the aliens moving through the station around them. And now, maybe we can protect them too. Taiho nodded. He felt the ancient thing inside him settle down once more. Not sleeping, never fully sleeping, but content. They had found a new pack, a bigger tribe, a larger family to protect. The galaxy did not know it yet, but everything had changed. Humanity was here, and they would never quit. News traveled fast on the station. By the time Taiho and Mina left the testing center, everyone seemed to know what had happened. Aliens who had ignored them before now stopped and stared. Conversations died as they walked past. Doors opened quickly, and creatures hurried out of their way. This is uncomfortable, Mina muttered. At least they are not ignoring us anymore, Taiho replied. They were escorted to temporary quarters in the diplomatic section of the station. The rooms were small but clean, designed for species of all shapes and sizes. Taiho sat on a bed that adjusted itself to fit his body and stared at the ceiling. A knock came at the door. Taiho opened it to find Rin standing in the corridor. May I enter? The security chief asked. Taiho stepped aside. Rin ducked through the doorway and stood in the center of the room, looking around at the simple furnishings. I have been doing more research on your species, Rin said. Find anything interesting? Everything is interesting. And terrifying. Rin sat down on a chair that groaned under its weight. I have questions. Will you answer them honestly? Taiho nodded. The persistence hunting your species used. Is it true that you could chase an animal for an entire day without stopping? Some of our ancestors could. Trained runners still can. The animal runs faster at first, but it has to stop and rest. Humans do not stop. They just keep coming, hour after hour. Eventually, the animal collapses. Rin shook its head slowly. That is horror. Pure horror. Can you imagine being prey? Running as fast as you can, hiding, thinking you are safe, and then looking back and seeing the humans still coming. Always coming. Never stopping. I never thought about it that way. Most predators attack quickly. They chase, they catch, or they give up. Your species invented a new kind of fear. The fear of something that will never give up. Something that will follow you until you die. Taiho was quiet for a moment. He thought about zombie movies, about horror films where the monster walked slowly but always caught its victim in the end. Humans had invented those stories. Maybe there was a reason for that. I also read about your pack behavior, Rin continued. You call it teamwork. But it is something more than that. You form bonds with each other. You fight for each other. You die for each other. Even for strangers. Humans are social creatures. All social creatures work together. But your species takes it further. You feel pain when others suffer. You feel joy when others succeed. You form connections with individuals you have never met. You care about creatures that are not even your own species. Taiho thought about pets. About dogs and cats that humans had lived with for thousands of years. About people who risked their lives to save animals from fires or floods. We form attachments, Taiho said. It is how we survive. We are not strong alone, but together we are dangerous. Yes, dangerous. Rin leaned forward. That is the word I keep coming back to. Everything about your species is dangerous. Your endurance, your intelligence, your cooperation, your tools. But there is something else. Something I cannot quite understand. What is that? Your anger. Taiho blinked. Our anger? I read about your wars. Your conflicts. The terrible things you have done to each other. But I also read about what happens when someone attacks people you care about. When someone threatens your families or your homes. Rin's yellow eyes were intense now. You do not just defend yourselves. You destroy your enemies completely. You burn their cities. You salt their fields. You make sure they can never threaten you again. Taiho remembered history lessons. Rome destroying Carthage. The revenge taken after Pearl Harbor. The response to terrorist attacks. When humans felt threatened, they did not hold back. We protect what we love, Taiho said simply. Protect? You do not protect. You annihilate. There is a difference. Rin stood up and walked to the window. Outside, ships move through the darkness of space. The Galactic Council has been watching your species for some time. They sent observers to your planet decades ago, hidden among your population. I did not know that. You were not supposed to. They wanted to understand you before making contact. They wanted to know if you were a threat. And what did they conclude? Rin turned back to face him. They concluded that you were not a threat. Your technology was primitive. Your species was focused on fighting itself. You posed no danger to the galaxy. They were wrong? They were very wrong. Rin's voice was heavy. They made the same mistake everyone makes when looking at humans. They saw a weak body and assumed a weak spirit. They saw a short history and assumed a limited potential. They did not understand what they were looking at. A chime sounded. Rin touched the device on its wrist, and a holographic image appeared in the air. It was a text message in an alien language. The council has called an emergency meeting, Rin said. They want to discuss the human situation. Are we in trouble? I do not know. I have served the council for a long time, and I have never seen them react this quickly to anything. Your test result has scared them more than any threat in recent memory. Taiho felt a chill run down his spine. We are not here to hurt anyone. We just want to join the galactic community. I believe you. But the Council does not know humans the way I'm beginning to know them. They see the numbers. They see the history. And they are afraid. Rin walked toward the door. I will speak on your behalf. I will tell them that you are not a threat. Thank you. Rin paused at the doorway. Do not thank me yet. The Council does not always listen to my advice. And there are species who will argue against you. Species who will say that humans are too dangerous to be allowed in the galaxy. What happens if they decide against us? Rin was silent for a long moment. Then it spoke, its voice quiet and serious. If they decide against you, they will try to contain your species, block your expansion, limit your technology, keep you isolated on your planet and in your small corner of space. The security chief looked at Taiho with those yellow predator eyes. I do not recommend that course of action. Why not? Because I have seen what happens when you cage a predator. It becomes angry. It becomes desperate. And eventually, it breaks free. Rin shook its head. If the Council tries to contain humanity, they will not be containing you. They will be provoking you. And based on everything I have learned today, that would be the worst mistake in galactic history. The door slid closed behind Rin, leaving Taiho alone with his thoughts. He walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth was spinning around its sun. Billions of humans lived their lives, unaware of what was happening here, unaware that their fate was being decided by aliens, who had just learned to fear them. The ancient thing inside him stirred again. The hunter, the survivor, the creature that had crawled out of the mud and conquered a planet. Taiho did not know what the Council would decide. He did not know if humanity would be welcomed or rejected. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. If the galaxy wanted to fight humanity, it would be the last fight it ever started. He smiled at the stars and waited for the future to arrive. The testing center erupted into chaos. Technicians ran between machines, checking systems and running diagnostics. Alarms beeped. Screens flashed. Vel stood frozen in place, its 4 eyes fixed on Taiho like he might attack at any moment. Everyone needs to calm down, Mina said. Her voice was steady, but Taiho could see her hand still resting near her weapon. Calm down? One of the technicians, a small creature covered in brown fur, pointed at Taiho with a trembling limb. That thing just broke our most reliable scanner. A scanner that has tested millions of species without a single error. I did not break anything, Taiho said. I just stood there. Your DNA broke it, the furry alien snapped. Your genetic code is impossible. It should not exist. Vel finally moved. It raised one long hand and made a gesture that seemed to mean silence. The room went quiet, though the tension remained thick in the air. We need to report this to the Council, Vel said. They will know what to do. What exactly will you report? Mine asked. That your machine is broken? The machine is not broken. Vel's voice was cold now, losing its musical quality. I have been a registry official for 200 years. I have tested over 50,000 species. I know what a broken machine looks like. This is not that. A new alien entered the room. This one was different from the others. It was large, covered in gray scales, and walked on 2 powerful legs. Its eyes were yellow with vertical black slits, like a snake. On its chest, it wore a badge that Taiho recognized from his training. This was a security officer. I am Rin, the scaled alien said. Its voice was deep and rough. Chief of security for this sector. I was told there was an incident. More than an incident, Vel said. It gestured toward Taiho. The human ambassador scored 112% on the Hunter Index. Rin's yellow eyes moved to Taiho. For a long moment, the security chief simply stared at him. Then it made a sound that might have been a laugh. Impossible. Run the test again. I have run it 3 times, Vel replied. The result does not change. Rin walked closer to Taiho. It was a full head taller than him and probably weighed 3 times as much. Up close, Taiho could see scars across its scaled face. This was a creature that had seen combat. You do not look like a predator, Rin said. I am not sure what a predator is supposed to look like. Taiho replied. Teeth, claws, speed, strength. You have none of these things. Rin leaned down until its face was close to Taiho's. I could kill you with 1 hand. Taiho did not step back. He did not flinch. He simply looked into those yellow eyes and felt something stir inside him again. That ancient thing. That hunter in the darkness. You could try, he said quietly. The room went silent again. Rin stared at Taiho for a long moment. Then it stepped back, and for the first time, Taiho saw something change in those predator eyes. Not fear exactly, but respect. Interesting, Rin said. Most species beg when I threaten them. Even some that score high on the index. You did not even blink. Should I have? Rin made that laughing sound again. I am beginning to understand why the machine gave that reading. It turned to Vel. Bring up everything we have on humans. I want to see their history. Vel nodded and moved to a large screen on the wall. Fingers danced over controls, and images began to appear. Taiho recognized some of them. Cave paintings, ancient weapons, hunting scenes carved in stone. Humans evolved on a planet called Earth, Vel narrated. A high-gravity world with a dangerous atmosphere and extreme weather patterns. They appeared approximately 300,000 years ago. Young species, Rin observed. Very young, yes, but they spread quickly. More images appeared. Maps showing human migration across continents. Within 60,000 years, they had colonized every landmass on their planet. They crossed oceans without technology. They survived ice ages. They adapted to deserts, jungles, mountains, and frozen wastelands. Many species adapt, Rin said. That is not unusual. True, but this is. Vel changed the image. Now it showed a list of animals. Next to each one was the word extinct in red letters. These are the large predators that existed on Earth when humans appeared. Cave lions, dire wolves, giant bears, saber-toothed cats. Within 20,000 years of human arrival, most of them were gone. Rin looked at the list. Humans killed them all? They did not just kill them. They hunted them to extinction. And these were not small creatures. Some were larger than your species, Chief Rin. Some had claws that could cut through stone. It did not matter. Humans killed them anyway. Mina spoke up. We were just trying to survive. Survive? Vel turned to face her. Your species did not just survive. You dominated. You became the apex predator on your entire planet. And you did it without natural weapons. No claws, no fangs, no armor. You used your minds instead. More images appeared. Spears, bows, traps, fire. You invented tools specifically designed to kill. Vel continued. You worked together in groups to bring down prey many times your size. You chased animals for hours until they collapsed from exhaustion. You burned entire forests to drive prey into traps. You poisoned water sources. You trained other predators to hunt for you. Persistence hunting, Taiho said. He had learned about it in school. Humans could not run fast, but they could run far. They could chase an animal until it died from heat and exhaustion. No other predator on Earth hunted that way. Yes, Bell said. Persistence hunting. A method so terrifying that most prey species evolved to fear the mere scent of humans. Your presence alone caused panic. Animals would flee at the sight of you, even when you had no weapons. Rin was staring at the screen now. Its yellow eyes moved from image to image. Wars, weapons, nuclear explosions. And when you ran out of animals to hunt, Rin said slowly, you started hunting each other. Vel nodded. Human history is filled with conflict. Wars that lasted decades. Battles that killed millions. They developed weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. And they built them anyway. Why? Rin asked. Taiho answered before Vel could. Because we could. Because someone else might build them first. Because that is what humans do. We see a threat, and we find a way to destroy it. Even if the threat is ourselves. Even if the threat is ourselves. The room was very quiet now. Aliens who had been running tests on their machines had stopped to listen. They stared at Taiho with new eyes. Before, they had seen a weak, primitive creature. Now they saw something else. Something that had clawed its way to the top of a death world and never stopped climbing. Rin walked to the screen and studied the images for a long moment. Then it turned back to Taiho. Your species is 300,000 years old, Rin said. In that time, you went from living in caves to traveling between stars. The Valori, one of the oldest species in the galaxy, took 10 million years to achieve the same thing. The Crix, the species with the highest hunter index, took 2 million years. You did it in the blink of an eye. We are fast learners, Taiho said. No, Rin shook its head. You are not just fast learners. You are predators who learn to think. And that is the most dangerous combination in the universe. Vel stepped forward. What should we do with them? Should we deny their registration? Rin was quiet for a long time. It looked at Taiho, then at Mina, then back at the screen showing human history. No, Rin said finally. We cannot deny them. They have met all the requirements. And more importantly, denying them would make them our enemy. I do not want humans as enemies. But the Council will be informed. They will make the final decision. But I will give them my recommendation. Rin looked at Taiho one more time. I recommend we welcome the humans. Give them what they want. Make them our friends? Why? Vel asked. Rin smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Because I have been a predator my whole life. I know what happens when you back one into a corner. And I know what happens when you make one angry. The smile faded. I do not want to find out what happens when you do either to a species that scores 112% on the Hunter Index. Taiho felt that ancient thing inside him settle down. For now, it was satisfied, but it was also awake. And it was paying attention. The ship was cold. Taiho rubbed his hands together and looked out the window at the massive space station floating in the darkness. It was bigger than any city he had ever seen on Earth. Lights blinked in thousands of windows. Ships moved in and out like tiny insects around a hive. First time seeing the Galactic Registry Station? Asked Captain Mina from behind him. Ho nodded. He was 32 years old, and until 6 months ago, he had been a simple government worker in Seoul. Now he was Earth's first official ambassador to the Galactic Council. The job had come to him by accident. The original ambassador had gotten sick, and Taiho had been his assistant. Someone had to go, and that someone was him. It looks impressive, Taiho said. It should, Mina replied. She was a stern woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. She had been flying ships since before humans knew aliens existed. Over 3,000 species pass through here every cycle. This is where new civilizations prove they are worthy of joining the galaxy. Taiho swallowed hard. No pressure at all, The docking process took 2 hours. There were scans, forms, and more scans. Taiho stood patiently as alien machines examined their ship from every angle. Finally, they were allowed inside. The station's interior was even more amazing than its exterior. The main hall stretched so far that Taiho could not see the end. Aliens of every shape and size walked past him. Some had 4 legs. Some had none. Some floated in tanks of liquid. Some were so small they rode on platforms that flew through the air, and all of them ignored the humans completely. They don't seem interested in us, Taiho observed. Why would they be? Mina said. To them, we are just another primitive species. We have only been in space for 100 years. Some of these civilizations are millions of years old. A guide met them at the entrance. The alien was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern on its face. It introduced itself as Vel. "Welcome to the Galactic Registry Station," Vel said. Its voice was soft and musical. "I will be your guide through the registration process. Please follow me." They walked for what felt like hours. Vel explained the station's history, its rules, and its purpose. The Galactic Council had created this station thousands of years ago. Every new species had to come here and complete the registration process. Only then could they trade, travel, or communicate with the rest of the galaxy. What does the process involve? Taiho asked. Several things, Vel answered. Medical scans, cultural assessments, psychological evaluations, and of course, the DNA test. DNA test? Vel made a gesture that might have been a nod. All species must submit to a standard genetic analysis. It measures many things about your biology. One of the most important measurements is your Hunter Index. Taiho looked at Mina. She shrugged. Neither of them had heard of this before. What is the Hunter Index? Taiho asked. It measures the percentage of predatory traits in your species, Vel explained. Aggression, persistence, territorial instincts, pack behavior. These things determine how dangerous a species might be to others, and what happens based on the result. Nothing bad, Vel assured him. It simply helps other species understand you better. A high Hunter Index means you evolved as predators. A low score means you evolved as prey or as peaceful herbivores. Most species score between 5 and 40%. The highest recorded score belongs to the Crix, a warrior species from the Outer Rim. They scored 67%. 67%. Taiho wondered what humans would score. They ate meat, yes. They had been hunters once. But they had also built cities, created art, and sent missions of peace to the stars. Surely they were not so different from other civilized species. The testing center was a large white room, filled with machines Taiho did not recognize. Alien technicians moved between stations, checking screens and adjusting equipment. Most of them barely looked at the humans. The ambassador will go first, Vel said. Please place your hand on the scanner. Taiho stepped forward. The scanner was a flat black panel on a metal stand. It looked simple enough. He placed his palm on the surface. The machine hummed. Lights blinked. Data scrolled across the screen in a language Taiho could not read. Vel watched with its 4 eyes, looking bored. Then something changed. The humming grew louder. The lights blinked faster. The screen flickered and strange symbols appeared. Vel leaned forward, its boredom replaced by confusion. That is strange, Vel said. What is strange? Taiho asked. He tried to pull his hand away, but the machine held it in place. The reading. It must be an error. The machine made a loud beeping sound. The screen turned red. Technicians from across the room stopped what they were doing and looked over. What is happening? Mina demanded. Her hand moved toward the weapon on her belt. I do not know, Vel admitted. This has never happened before. The machine is showing an error message. The scanner finally released Taiho's hand. He stepped back quickly, rubbing his palm. On the screen, a message blinked in red letters. Vel stared at it for a long moment. What does it say? Taiho asked. Vel turned to look at him. For the first time, Taiho saw something in those 4 alien eyes that looked like fear. It says, error. Value exceeds maximum parameters. What does that mean? Vel did not answer right away. It turned back to the screen, pressed several buttons, and ran the scan again using the data already collected. The same error appeared. The Hunter Index has a maximum value of 100%, Vel said slowly. No species has ever reached that number. The highest score in galactic history is 67%. The machine is designed to measure values up to 100, with room for small errors. And my score? Vel looked at Taiho with those 4 frightened eyes. 112%. The room went silent. Every technician, every alien in the testing center, stopped moving. They all stared at the human standing in the middle of the room. Taiho looked down at his own hands. They looked normal, ordinary. The hands of a former government worker who had never even been in a fight. That cannot be right, he said. The machine does not make mistakes, Vel whispered. Not like this. Not ever. Mina stepped forward, her face hard. Run it again. Vel shook its head. I ran it twice. The result is the same. Your ambassador is not just a predator. According to our measurements, he's more predator than should be biologically possible. Taiho looked around at the aliens watching him. They were not ignoring him anymore. They were staring at him like he was a monster wearing human skin. And somewhere deep inside him, in a place he had never explored, something ancient stirred. Something that remembered hunting in the darkness. Something that had never truly gone to sleep. He smiled without meaning to. Well, he said quietly, this is going to be an interesting registration process.